We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the king of podcasts.
Welcome to the Depraved and Debaucherous podcast here with yours for the king of podcasts. Appreciate all of you listening to the program as you always do. By the way, I want to go ahead and tip you off to something real quick about subscribing to the show. There are some additional clips, additional episodes, we could say, mini episodes that I have been recording now for all of my content. Because through the platform that I put a lot of my content on, Spreaker exclusively, they have now what's called a supporters club. So if you want to hear some extra content, I have put aside a paywall for Depraved and Debaucherous in particular, or my other programs. In each series, I have a small little request for a monthly donation. And any of those shows, including Depraved and Debaucherous, $2 a month. That's it. $2 a month. You can see all the subscriber episodes that I have right now at kingofpodcasts.com. I did a little redesign of the website to where you can see a subscriber section. And you can see all the episodes I've recorded, the most latest episodes recorded for the subscriber series. So some of them are either for, like, say, the Pro Wrestling Podcast, I do a show on that. Or if I have something that's for the Broadcasters Podcast, I have that. I have an episode on how the TikTok shop totally schools traditional advertising. And then for Depraved and Debaucherous, I follow up on my episode on Challengers. The movie was Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Faust. I have that as well. I put it into the mix as well. So you can take a look at all those for yourself. And I thought that would be good to go ahead and include into the show. So I decided you can see that now. Subscriber section at kingofpodcasts.com. You can see it right there. And I hope you'll go ahead and consider subscribing to the podcast. Look at it for yourself. And say, okay, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and please go ahead and offer your support to yours truly for new content, which the plan is I'm not going to do anything that's pre-planned. It's just if there's other content that goes out there that I don't think would be warranted to the show because I think there's not enough time to put in the 30-minute show to talk about it. And it's right then and there. Like I'm going to do real-time commentary on things that are going on right away. So the fact of the Challengers movie, I saw it on Friday. I commented about it that night, and I said, okay, we're going to go and talk about it. And here it is. So let's move along now. I did an episode of my Podcasters Roast series earlier today, and it prompted me to go and talk about a story that my guest came on, and I asked her about. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She hosts a podcast called the Preeti Experience, Preity. Her name is Preeti Upala, and she has had a career as an investment banker in Australia. She moved to the U.S., pursued her dream of attending film school, landed roles in Bollywood films like Bahubali, and the Hollywood production of Sex and the City 2. And she's now based in Los Angeles. She's a film producer and a podcast host, and she's considered a global strategist, and called upon by news organizations worldwide for expertise in international diplomacy and foreign policy. So now, she talked to me about various pursuits that she has in terms of culture, sport, politics, and beauty, and among other things that she talked about on her program. Now, she talked about the many facets of the divine feminine in her tradition. So, of course, she's of Hindu culture from India. And she made a point of saying, first of all, the goddess worship was prevalent in the Indian culture. Well, she's from Dubai, originally born. She says, quote, there are many goddesses. It's not just a devout wife or devotee. It is the fierce Kali or the Saraswati, who is all about knowledge. In common, all goddesses and women hold the part of Shakti, the primordial cosmic energy, which is the personification of the divine feminine. Basically, the thought and the mind of what has been thought of as like the stigma of how women were to be treated when they were just considered housewives and domesticated and only made to go and, rule a home and a family. Well, it shouldn't have been that. Just that. Meanwhile, the girl boss we have now today, which is like, oh, I can do what I want. I can live the life I want. I can have the career that I want. And I can jet set. I can go out young, adventurous, wild and free, beautiful, look like I want, and just, be wined and dined, entertained, and taken out there for my beauty and for my prowess and for my pretty privilege. That's not also is also not the way to look at things. Because women should not be looked at as girl bosses. We should look at women as goddesses, according to Preeti. I like the way she puts this out here and explains it. Now, I talked to her, and I have my full episode with her, 30-minute episode I did with her, which is going to be available at the website, kingofpodcasts.com. I'll have it posted next week. And she talks about how the different facets of the Shakti energy have worked through her. She also goes on to say in an article that I'm taking from about this is that the beauty of Shakti is she doesn't need to give herself up in order to fight for space. She holds her own. She knows her place, and no one's going to take that away from her. Her job is just to shine and be glorious. The power of femininity, which obviously the feminist movement has tried to make it where you just can't be feminine and live the way that you want, like a vulnerability, a part of it that just comes through. And you're also not supposed to look like as a stepford wife either. And that's another thing that she makes a point in here and explains. Now, moving along into this, let me just take a little more of this and just take the point of, as she explains here, Dharmic feminism, the kind of female empowerment the world needs. She put out an article and wrote this herself, and that feminism today has a branding problem. It doesn't consider that men and women are different, that they are not supported to be the same, that each have their own spiritual purpose, and that one marries perfectly into the other. It's the equality of outcome. We're finding a reversal of the gender balance where the women are becoming harder, the men are becoming softer and almost ashamed of their masculine power. This leaves women yearning for the divine masculine, which they now feel like they have to generate with themselves. So I'm going to take a clip from my interview with her where she goes on and elaborates on this. So I'm going to take a part of what she wrote, what she wrote, I'm going to read it out, and I'm going to let her comment on it. I want you to take a listen to what she said. Women in the West struggle to find their divine feminine essence, and then you see this essence effortlessly manifested within Indian women. Observe Indian woman, a woman from India. She wears proudly her femininity. Her real power is her vulnerability, beauty, softness, and sensuality. She knows that she does not need to give up who she is to be the person she wants to be. Secure in her power and does not need to feel to prove it or bring someone else down to validate her own self-worth. One of the examples I always think about when it comes to the pageants, I always look at Miss Universe, and I always look at the fact that, okay, where you see, again, Western countries and Western cultures versus the Eastern cultures, and just looking at where countries have a very traditional dynamic of family, of, where men and women stand in society, and you just see better harmony. I just think there was a reason why we have guys that will want to go ahead and fly to other countries to meet women, because they can't find the traditional, wonderful, beautiful woman that encompasses everything right there that she says, the power that women have and their vulnerability, beauty, softness, sensuality. Men want that. Women can give that here in America, but they've been programmed and disenfranchised that it's a detriment if they let themselves give their guard down. They think it is, but it's not that way. You can also see that society as a consumer, they don't want to listen to that either, where there's this other dynamic, because look at all the movies being put out that are very progressive. And you know what? If they don't perform well, there's a reason why. In Bollywood, I've seen a number of the movies that come in. I watch a lot of them when they come in, when they're new. And I'll tell you, I see traditional, like where women are held at the highest pedestal, men will look and admire and again, appreciation to the highest degree. That's what you expect. In America, it's looked down upon. And I feel for everything that goes on, it's not even so much the men. The men need to go ahead and step up, and this allowing, and that's part of also the breakdown of the family structure, because that's obviously a real reason for all this to happen. But men, should be strong enough to be able to step themselves up and say, listen, we can't be putting this in this way. You need to get look. There's brotherhood. There's other men like you that you can come together and realize there's a bond that you have, and your masculinity comes from the bonds that you have with other men. With women, it's a matter of, if they can go ahead and take what you're saying right here tap into the real power, then
Mhm.
there will be a lot more love and happiness in America, and obviously the way it is around the world that we never hear about. I do let her talk, so here's what she says.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned pageants because you look at the top three countries or the top five countries that have won most of the beauty titles in the history of pageants. It's India, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Puerto Rico. It's all these beautiful Asian or
It's all
Latin.
traditional, but also it's also areas. So it's a lot of Latin America, all Latin America actually,
It's
the
all global
Caribbean,
South, yeah, Asia and Latin
South
America,
Asia,
and Central
Southeast
America.
Asia, all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's like Miss Universe always represents, like, look at all these beautiful people that represent,
Yes.
which, by the way, it's not just all these people that are in the pageant as finalists. There are beautiful women in all these countries from all over Africa. I can't even not forget about Africa, the whole country.
Yes.
And they all understand this is just built into who human beings are. But in America, I don't know what's happened here. This is raw. I haven't edited yet, so I said country when I should have said continent. Continuing. But we've been allowed to not have that kind of thought process. It's just changed. So unfortunately, that's where politics has played a role. And then we look at in areas, what are you talking about? When it comes to culture, when it comes to sport, I mean, I can even imagine just in the idea of what beauty is now. First of all,
Yes.
the beauty industry also manipulated, also put through politics, multi-billion dollars, the kind of manipulation, the kind of, you know, insecurity they put upon women all the time. And who's the next star that they're going to say is like the epitomizes what beauty is?
But
They think it's Zendaya.
they've
Zendaya is now
changed
the
their
it girl, right?
they've
And it's like,
they've
but
cha- they
nobody can be that size.
yeah, no one they've changed the script. The beauty industry and media, they actually have, and Hollywood too, they have a lot to blame because it used to be the heroine chic, which was the epitome of beauty, and then before that it might have been the Monica Bellucci, the voluptuous Italian
Right.
vampish, heroine, and then it changed suddenly. Then it became the blonde bimbo or the femme fatale, and now it's descended completely. And it's like, where is the beauty in this? What is beautiful? Are you saying it's all beautiful? I mean, yes, spiritually, yes, it's all beautiful.
Sure.
We are all one, but we're talking about celebrating what is spectacular and remarkable and extraordinary, right? You have to honor that, and I mean, there is a global feel to that as well. And if you don't honor that, what message are you giving to men? What message are you giving to women? And you're forcing people to say that this is beautiful, and that if you don't think it's beautiful, and if you don't want to get involved with this, there is something wrong with you, and you're a bad person. And that actually pushes both men and women into a corner. And the worst manifestation of all of this is that I think, and what I really fear is men, they've been pushed into a corner a little bit, young boys and young men, with all of this. What you don't want to see is them going the other direction, where they're saying that they don't want to deal with women at all. There's this trend of the passport bros, I'm sure you've heard, where
Right. Absolutely.
American men, thinking that traveling to the other side of the world, they're going to find their soulmate. That's not how love works. You know that they will go
Right.
there, and what they will find will be a different version of other issues and other problems. I think, they sort of fail to forget that. But the crux is they can't find what they're looking for, that sensuality, softness, vulnerability, femininity. They can't find it here. They're literally going to the other side of the world to find.
I'm going to continue with her point about the passport bros and just where guys have to go out looking for the women. And really, the way she portrays it, I'm going to get her back on the program. I already talked to her and she agreed. We're going to do a longer interview about this and talk about her going through all this part and explaining it, because it really does make sense. And she talks about, are men and women really equal? Do we honor the feminine? Do we value our women? Are women empowered? And the way she explains it. I love where she says this in her story that she puts out. This is an India West Journal, by the way. And I thought when she wrote this, it made me feel like, man, she encompassed everything in this one paragraph. Quote, I find women in the West struggling to find their divine feminine essence, and I see this essence effortlessly manifested within Indian women. Observe any Indian woman. She proudly wears her femininity. Her real power is in her vulnerability, beauty, softness, and sensuality. She knows that she does not need to give up who she is to be the person she wants to be. She is secure in her power and does not feel the need to prove it or to bring someone else down to validate her own self-worth. That's gospel right there, folks. Any alpha male would agree with that statement right there. That is real. I agree with that 150%. Preeti has this down right. And Shakti is this divine feminine central to her faith in Hinduism that it really does says a lot. And I feel like women need to really understand it's true. Like I said in the Bollywood movies, look how many times you see those movies. The women, very feminine, beautiful, vulnerable, soft, sensual, but still you don't realize there's power to it. And she even says it when it comes to her in the workforce, when she was an executive, right? She makes the point being an investment banker. She says, I harness my Shakti energy to communicate and negotiate while keeping my center and now in entertainment and as a public intellectual. I have to express myself with grace, charm, and light. And there's a large void I see in society these days that this notion of Shakti could fill. The very idea of what it means to be a woman is now being challenged and contemplated on. In the pursuit of socially generated equality, it is important that we don't lose the very notion of the male-female dynamic as it has been for millennia. I love that. I love that. She makes so much sense here. It's so true. Back to Preeti. Let me give you the last little bit of what she did say in the commentary that I pulled out for a clip.
And they may or may not find it, and they'll have their own trials and tribulations, I think. But you don't want that. You don't want people traveling en masse. That's not good for American women because their value goes down globally, and they're having issues trying to find a good man. If half of them go off to other places, they're gonna have no chance. They'll be forced to be single forever. A lot of them may decide to bat for the other team. You know, we're seeing a lot of gender fluidity, sexual fluidity too. Because
Right.
they're like, well, this guy isn't available. Well, let me go over here and see what she's up to. And, you know, hey, if that's your true identity, fantastic, more power to you. But if you're doing it out of necessity, that's not good for America as a country, you know.
And the Western world in general. And she's absolutely right. It's amazing. I have not seen anyone really give me that explanation so well, and understanding it just from traditional culture, from Hindu culture. They get it. It's true. When did we get to a point where society realizes there are women that just realize, listen, we talk about pretty privilege, but there's a way to just use it and understand it and appreciate it. The thing is, there's something to be said about a beautiful woman that is sweet. And again, that holds all those different components that we talked about here, right? Again, what she said here and the way she explained it, a lot of beautiful women in India. I mean, come on. You're talking about women that when you look at a Indian woman, either dressed in a sari or just in traditional wear or just a modern look, gorgeous, long, dark hair, amazing, exotic looks, a very tan, a complexion that's just that a lot of women wish they can get. They go and self-tan to try to make that look. But there's something about that. She says the real power for her are vulnerability, beauty, softness, and sensuality. It's a woman being a woman as she was meant to be. But that does not mean that she loses her status or her power. She's still, in essence, a goddess. Now, of course, we want to go into the part of, then, the women that will feel like, okay, then we're a goddess and I need to be treated like a goddess. Let's say that's the point. You think the material things are of equal value to what you're looking for. That's an even trade. No, it's not. Because just looking for material things, it cheapens you. It drops your value. What you want is all the value. You don't want little trinkets. You don't want little toys. You want little things like that. You want something that actually will last a lifetime. Stability, children, family, love, happiness. That's what to strive for. And all the things that come with it. Because when you, as a woman, a beautiful woman, whereof the which there are many, do not center and think that beautiful women are just what you see on the ads and what you see in advertising and fashion, on billboards. No. They don't have to be Zendaya. Zendaya's a beautiful girl, but not every woman needs to feel like she needs to go and live up to that standard. No, it's too much pressure. So don't even worry about that. She knows that she does not need to give up who she is to be the person she wants to be. She's secure in her power and does not need to feel the need to prove it or to bring someone else down to validate her own self-worth. Because when you're bringing someone else down, it's like a guy, you're saying, yeah, buy me this, buy me that. You're bringing him down. You're devaluing him. He's just a means to an end. He's just an ATM machine. You want someone that you value, that it doesn't matter about money. It's love and happiness. The thing is, you want to find a man that you put high in value. The value is not in his money. It's not in his abs. It's not in what he can pack. No, none of that. There's something to be said more about the value of the relationship, the value of the bond, the commitment, and what you do to put together to create a great life. Because we already see more than enough times, money never is effective when it comes to love. Think of all the other countries we talked about that I mentioned with her in that interview. Miss Universe, right? Think of all the countries that are always represented at that Miss Universe. Colombia, Venezuela, Philippines, think of any African country, whether it's South Africa, Zaire, Australia, New Zealand. There are quite a few people that are, they don't make it out very well. It's not all first world countries. Some of them are not. Some of those Latin American countries, they're struggling. Southeast Asia, Philippines, Thailand, all that. Yeah, they struggle. It's not easy for them. Of course, we always see certain European countries also get in the mix. But like I said, the beauty that comes from the women that are in these countries that don't have a lot. For all of you women that think about here in America of how good you have it, think about the beautiful women. And this is the reason why the Passport Bros is such a benefit, because remember, those women can appreciate someone that can lift them up, that brings value to them. Because think of some of the women that are there in either Venezuela or Colombia or Dominican Republic or all these other countries that are filled with beautiful women, India as well. And think about the fact that, it's not about the money that brings them and uplifts them. It's being valued, being treasured, being appreciated for who they are, for their vulnerability, beauty, softness, and sensuality. Those 4 words encompass 4 of the greatest traits any woman can possess. And by the way, you can determine what beauty there is. You can absolutely determine that. And think about it, if it's a young woman, a young, vulnerable, beautiful, soft, sensual woman. You can picture who that woman is in your mind. You can think of who that is. You can say to yourself, man, you have a picture of who that is in your mind. You have somebody that you think of that you already know. That when you think of that woman, you think of her and those attributes, you're saying to yourself, yeah, I wish I had her. And you'll realize she's probably a wonderful woman. She's the kind of woman that obviously she's taken. Obviously somebody else is going out with her. Obviously she's doing well with her life. Because those traits, women, young ladies out here, you listen to this program, I see the stats. I see a lot of young women, some that are in their teens, some that are in their 40s and up, and all in between. And I see there's all these beautiful women here encompassing. If you encompass what she's saying, what Preeti's saying here, I'm going to bring her back and take this here. And I'll tell you what, if you have questions for her, I want you to ask them. If you're listening to this on the YouTube, please leave comments there. I'll ask the questions to her because I'm going to have an hour. I'm going to look at committing an hour to speak to her about all this. And we're going to put on this program. I'm telling you, there's so much there to be brought up. Wow, there is like, it opened my eyes. When I was preparing for the interview, it's one of the first areas I was thinking about, man, I want to talk about this. And even she talked about, like, there's just areas she wants to go and continue to talk about it. Because when we talked about this area, it was like, we could go farther into this discussion. We talked about it off air. And it's absolutely true. And I want to do that. I want to take this point. Dharmic feminism. Taking from the Indian culture, the Hindu culture, the religion. Upholding the goddess energy even higher than God himself. And you know what? Catholics feel like that because we put Mary at a very much high, Virgin Mary is a very high pedestal. Maybe not at the highest level as God, but we do consider her. We hail her. We idolize her. We worship her. We pray for her. Because some people look at that way. And that's the same idea where the Hindu religion is also like that. It's very traditional. And I'm telling you, women can really still feel that way. And it can still be, she says here that it's as timeless as it is contemporary. In Hindu scriptures, they say that, quote, in women is the form of all things, of all that lives and moves in the world. There is no jewel rarer than women, no condition superior to that of a woman. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. She also talks about the fact that, you know, where Shakti has played a great role in shaping her into the kind of woman she is today. The balance of yin and yang to receive and exert taught me to find power in my charm, softness, vulnerability, and love rather than force. Beautiful. I'm going to go and put this in the description. I want you to go and read this and take a look at what she says because she's absolutely right. Like I'm telling you, it's eye-opening. Divine providence here that I got to talk to her and I got to go and use this as a subject for this depraved and debaucherous because it's so true. Now, we can move on from that and we'll continue on talking about that. But like I said, I will go ahead and look to bring on Preeti Appala and bring her onto this program once again, do an hour-long interview, lay it all out. I'm telling you, there's so much there to be said, and I'm like, she has so many good points. Now I'm going to put it behind a paywall. Like I said, some interviews I'm going to still give you a regular 30-minute interview no matter what. I'm always going to promise you that. You're going to get the content you've always been getting for free for years on this program. I'm going to continue that. I'm going to still deliver my regular content as I always do. That's the most important thing I'm going to do. I'm not putting a lot of stuff behind the paywall just to do that. I'm giving you the content you've always had. What I'm offering in a supporters club, of which, like I said, $2 a month, that's all I ask. That's the lowest level they can give me, so that's all I put it as. So if you want to go ahead and support me, please do so. Again, a couple dollars a month. It's there. You can process it real quick. It's easy. And you help support the show. And I will be making it my point to put out more content for all of you out there, in addition to what we talk about on the program. Because there's a lot more things we could talk about that I could bring up. More about my own story. More about other stories I don't bring up on the program because I don't have time for it. I just think it needs more time. And I don't want to go ahead and put it and wedge it into the show. So I hold off. And I'll keep looking for more stories that I could do a show about, because it's really easy for me to go and put a show together, get the visuals, the graphics, all that, and put it all together. So I'm going to think about that. And I want you to realize that in a show like this, the full hour will be available. You'll get to hear it. And I hope you appreciate where we're coming from with all this. I want to thank Preeti for being on the program that she's going to be on our Podcasters Row program. You'll hear more about that. You want to go and listen to that episode. Like I said, that'll be available next week at kingofpodcasts.com. You'll be able to find it there. And in the meantime, you know, so much more to go and get into, but like, this is wonderful. that this subject comes to light, and I think we need to focus more on it. It's going to be wonderful to go and just be able to place this out there and see what people are going to say about it, because I think it's going to be very important. All right. That's the program for tonight. Of course, you subscribe to it as always do. Like I said, please do donate and support. If you can do so, it would be wonderful. But in the meantime, you can be those passport bros in the meantime. Maybe you can't find that love yet. But in the meantime, appreciate the woman that you're with. And when you get to know her, you're going to spend time with her and you win over your heart. That is the best time when you can get to be a little depraved and debaucherous.